Hola, how are you? We've got Plaza Julio de Caro. Is that right? Julio de Caro. Yeah, we must be very mindful that the human suffering goes on everywhere on the planet today, and that's simply because the greed has taken over by simply very few humans on the planet today, and they're bringing what you call the suffering on the humanity as a whole. And it's a monument structure here. They're the original indigenous population here from Argentina, the original people of this land, and they have come here to find what do you call it's the human struggle at the outset is big and enormous. When you're scarce for food, you go looking for it. If you're scarce for land space, you go looking for it, and then you rob. If the jobs are scarce, you're fighting for one particular job. If the money is not there, which means you're also struggling for that scarcity of life. And that's exactly where we are at in this world. We need to, wherever we are, we need to bring about the human struggle. We collectively must improve the human suffering, and by doing so we can have a better and connected and well embraced society as a whole. Here I'm at the Recoleta, and as you can see, the country is completely bankrupt and has absolutely no money, and the suffering and the struggle goes on for the original population of this country that was at one time enjoying a very balanced, resource balanced living standard. But today we have introduced this scarcity amongst the communities as a whole for the entire planet, and that has caused a deep sense of suffering and struggle that goes on across the entire planet. Recoleta, and at the cemetery of Evita. This is where she's resting in peace whilst the living are suffering and struggling to make their life sustainable or better, and yet it's impossible to happen because our governments, our corporations, our religions doesn't allow this to happen. It's just painful to see human suffering and struggle, and it continues to carry on in the way that the human greed is profiteering from the human suffering, and that cannot happen. That cannot continue to happen. We need to change the mindset of our human suffering across this entire planet, and to do that we need to stop the greedy politicians, the greedy business leaders taking ownership of the world's human resources, and the scarcity that causes that suffering is unrealistic. You got Starbucks here. Now this is what makes the people go for the scarcity, and we should avoid this kind of nonsense going across the planet. Feeding the haves. We got Starbucks, played out by an Irish pub, a nonsense of toleration, and that's what we've got here. And we should educate and embrace the human struggle that goes on in the planet, and do not tolerate the very elite can enjoy of the very few pleasures that's been sort of panned out across the planet. Everywhere we go And that should not be the case. Crazy. That's Recoleta Mall. And that's the historical cemetery. And where the cemetery is, and where we have the dogs. The people are suffering, we're taking care of the animals. Why are we grabbing the animals, first of all, to take care of those animals? We shouldn't be. And there we have it. Okay. Lion jockey. Walking the streets of Buenos Aires.